The Palestinian letter, I'm a journalist, I'm a former journalist. I believe journalists should be able to be safe in conflict zones, and I don't believe that journalists should be targeted by military organisations, and that's why I signed it, and that's why I won't remove my name from it. Second was the UNWRA letter. So at the time that that letter was written and signed, there were 70 trucks a day getting into Gaza from an average of 500 a day before October 7 and against a need of 700 a day. The expert advice from multiple briefings was that the only organisation capable of delivering that humanitarian aid was UNWRA. There had been an investigation, as you're all aware, and via UN oversight, those who were alleged to have been involved in the attack had been removed from UNWRA, and also additional oversight was placed on UNWRA. The letter, it's important to note that the letter actually said, if no other organisation can be found to deliver this aid, UNWRA should do it, and evidently no other organisation was found. I'll note that Canada, New Zealand and others also restored funding to UNWRA for the same reason. I spoke with the Israeli ambassador just last week when I was in Canberra, and I said, you know, I'm agnostic as to who delivers the aid. Do we yet have an option for someone who can do it? He said no.
Rubbish.
You can tell me it's rubbish, but I was the one who met with the Israeli ambassador, and that's what he told me. Third thing?
The 200
Climate 200 manage their own staff. I don't agree with the BDS movement in any way, shape or form. I've been very much on the record on this. Boycotting businesses owned by people from Israel or Jewish people is an absolute disgrace. And I know that businesses have been boycotted here in our community since October 7, and I think that's absolutely disgusting. That should not be happening.
And the Greens?
And the Greens, so of roughly 40 Greens policies and motions moved over the term, I voted yes to 22 of them and no to 18 of them, so that's about 50-50. Similar with Labor and the Coalition. On raw numbers, I voted for more than double the number of coalition policies as Greens policies. The numbers that the coalition are using to mislead you are to do with largely procedural motions. The crossbench has a principle that we vote against gag motions because frequently the government tries to gag debate to push its legislation through. The broader crossbench, including the Greens, but all of the independents, think that's anti-democratic. So all of us vote against those motions. Those motions are sitting within that percentage. But if you look at Greens policy moved, it's about 50-50. And same with Labor, and about 40-something percent coalition motions that I voted on. And I'll just finish by saying the whole point of being an independent is that I don't just vote for my party's position 100% of the time. Having analysed policy, legislation, consulted experts and considered the best outcome for most people on the basis of whether it's good policy or not. So the fact that I voted roughly half and half across the spectrum actually shows that independence works.
I need to ask about the Greens and preferencing, and we had a question earlier that somebody sent in saying, will you pledge to preference them last, Zoe?
I don't direct preferences. I didn't direct preferences at the last election. I run on an open ticket. I know that people from across the spectrum vote for me, or certainly that's what happened last time. So I will ask only that people give me their number one and they number every other box in order to avoid voting informal. People vote as they choose down the ticket. I just want the number one. The rest is up to you.
Thank you.
Sure. But I also want to make some observations about some of the remarks. Just to clarify, the Coalition's position is we do not believe we should be using Australian taxpayers' money to give to organisations that facilitate terrorism. One of those things that I used to think wasn't controversial. In addition to that, I think that when you have people at the heart of Climate 200 actively advocating for anti-Semitic BDS movements, I think people, if they seriously mean everything they just said, have to say, are you going to hand back that racist anti-Semitic money then? $600,000, and you're taking it from an organisation where you have people who have actively been advocating for a racist and anti-Semitic cause. I think that's tainted money.
Where's your money coming from, Tim?
Sorry?
Where's your money coming from?
From many people within this community. I can assure you I will not take a dime from a racist or an anti-Semite.
Where your money's coming from.
Sorry, you know as well as I do that when you take $600,000 from Climate 200, one, the donors aren't declared for Climate 200. Second, you actually don't declare all the people.
That is absolutely untrue. I'm sorry, that is wrong.
Okay, so will you list and publish all of the donors to Climate 200?
My donors are all published on my website transparently and pretty much in real time. I think my opponent declared 0 donations after the last election.
Firstly, that's cute. If you go to zoedaniel.com.au/donate right now, you can see that half of them are anonymous. Secondly, you don't actually publish all the people at Climate 200. It actually passes money through that to hide where those donations are, and then passes the money through to you, so you don't actually know where it is. And we absolutely run money through the Liberal Party, as political parties do, because we are not doing what you are doing, which is setting up for what Climate 200 is, which is a private company designed to subvert Australian electoral law, but it does not change one thing. It does not change one thing. Which is an organisation that employs people who are engaged in advocating for a racist, anti-Semitic BDS movement that transforms. Well, you just heard the member for Goldstein say they thought it was an inappropriate cause and it was disgusting and despicable, and all I am doing is repeating the same sentiment. $600,000 from a racist and anti-Semitic cause. I'm sorry, that's tainted money and it should be returned if you believe those statements. So, when it comes to the question that Zeddy just asked about the Greens, it is sometimes challenging between the different, unfortunately, candidates who put themselves forward for public office and sometimes the values and attitudes they hold, particularly sometimes because of the anti-Semitic attitudes that are out there. But certainly if the Greens are not dead last, they will certainly be either second last or dead last on my head.
Thank you.